Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa, and I just want to make sure that you guys can all hear me and see the screen that I'm sharing. So if you can put a yes or no in the chat box, that would be wonderful. And we'll give it a minute or two for everyone to join. Great. Lovely. So this morning, we are going to be covering your marketing tools on your Office dashboard. So as everybody kind of piles in on the webinar, I'm going to kind of go through a few things and then we'll get started. So on your marketing, we are going to be covering how to create a postcard today. We're also going to create some marketing pieces, email or print flyers, and then we're also going to be creating marketing campaigns or email drip campaigns. So we will be recording this session, and you guys will receive a recorded version of this session via email today. Also, if you guys have not already, be sure to join our Facebook group. You can search it under, if you're in Facebook, you can search it under Back at You, and it will be under Office because we do have a social as well. And if you just put in your information, we will approve you as soon as we see it. And then also, as always, we have our YouTube channel, which has a library of all our video tutorials. So we have a lot of these long 1-hour webinars. We have shorter ones that are a few minutes. We have all of different lengths depending on what time length you want to watch and what the subject matter is. So now that we have you guys on there, anyone else who has joined in the last few seconds, if you want to make sure that you can hear me and see my screen, you can type a yes or no in the chat box, and then we'll begin. And so everyone should be, if you're following along with me, hopefully you are, because it usually is easier that way. You will be in your Office dashboard on your home page. So you log in, and this is the page that you will come to up here. And then we'll start from here. So in order to access your marketing, you are going to come down here on your nav bar, down to your marketing tab, select marketing, and we're going to kind of go from top to bottom here. Here's where you're going to create your postcards, and then you have your print and email flyers and marketing. You also, if you scroll down here, you have your images, and then you can create blogs. You also have surveys and testimonials. So let's start from the top here. In order to create a postcard, you're going to select marketing and then come up here and select my orders. So for those of you that have not created any postcards yet, you'll see a green button here, and that'll usually be for anything in your Office platform. If you have not created anything in that section, you'll have a green button to create. Since I've already created postcards, this is where they will stay, and I can edit them and review them all in one place. But what we're going to do is create a new postcard. So I'm going to come up here to the right-hand corner and where it says plus order, and that is how I'm going to create a new postcard. So once this pulls up, it's going to pull up all of my templates. I can search by a template title. If I know the title, I can also search by category. You'll see here, agent promotion, buyer's neighborhood, home value, just reduced. And then I can choose from there, or I can just scroll down and look at all of the templates that I have here. So we are going to select the one that I want. Once I find the one that I want, I'm going to hit select. And that is going to open the edit box for my postcard. So once I'm in here, this is the static stock photo that comes with it. You can leave it as is, or you can go in and change it once you highlight it. And let me just scroll down so you can see that. You can see both sides of the actual postcard here where you can edit. So I can decide if I want to edit any of these images. I can leave the stock images as is. It's completely up to you. If I want to edit this, I just click on it and it's going to open this up. So I have a choice of company images. Those are any images that your company has uploaded, like if there's different logo types. Also, I have my images, any images that I've already uploaded on my own. And then if I want to upload a new one, I can as well. So I'm just going to select one that I have here and decide I want to use that one instead. Whoops, I forgot to center it. We'll go back. We don't want to cut off the realtor in this one. So let me go in here and let me just select here. So you can see here by the box that it's not going to be a great fit. So I probably want to go in and select another image. And you really do want to pay attention when you are going through your marketing and any of these editing tools that you want to choose an image that you can fit in the size box. So if it's a horizontal image or a banner, it would be wise to choose something that is set in that dimension, or if it's a square, and you can mess with it a little bit, but you just want to keep that in mind when you are choosing your pictures. So I'm going to hit save. And now it's going to pull up the picture that I want. Also, if I want to as well, I can select a property from any of, sorry, Bruce is asking me, is there a choice for email or print version? So we are in the postcard section. So all of these are going to ideally be print out since they're postcard. So that's why there's no choice in the filters for email or print, but there will be when we get to the flyer section. Does that answer your question, Bruce? Hopefully. Let me know yes or no, and I will make sure if it does not. Perfect. Okay, so also on here, you can select a property and pull in your property stats from any of your properties that are in your platform or office properties. So if I select property here, it's going to pull up all of the properties. And one thing I do want to notate is, guys, if you are, for whatever reason, using someone else's property, please get their permission. That's always usually not a good thing. It's not great realtor behavior if you guys are just using other people's properties. Also, you shouldn't be, especially if they're active. It just depends on your local laws and rules and guidelines. This is not the prettiest property. Sorry, guys. I'm OCD. I want a happy property that looks pretty. So let's find another one. Here we go. That property looks a little sad. So once this pulls up, what it's doing is it's pulling all of the MLS information along with all of the stats. So if I actually had and I can show you once we go in here, if I pull up one, it would actually pull up all of the stats from the property. But right now it's just because of the template that I chose, it's pulling up just the images. So I can go in here, and this is what I mentioned about, really selecting images that fit for this particular size and frame of image. If you see here, this kind of just looks like a bunch of clutter. So I would want to go in and probably choose a better or more ideal picture. So if I'm going to do that, now you'll notice that there is a tab here that says property. I select that, and now it's going to pull up all of the images for that property that are in the MLS. So I can pick a cleaner image here. And then I want to center it and hit save. It's a little bit better. And then let's choose another photo for this one. I'm going to go back up to property as well. And maybe we can choose an outdoor image. And then hit save. So now I have selected my images. If I want to go in here and edit any of the copy, I can do that. Anything that has the dotted lines around it is editable. So if I want to go up in here and I can do that. A couple of things that you do want to keep in mind. So all of these postcards are standard 5x7. The other thing I did mention previously is please, if you choose to use another listing that is not yours, you really do need to get permission. I'm not going to dig too much into that because all office cultures are different, but it's just the right thing to do as an agent. And then also the one thing else that I do want to mention is you cannot change the size of the font, but there are workarounds that you can use to get around it. So if I didn't want this to say yikes, obviously not in this climate, you don't want anything negative. I'm going to come up here and select. I can either change this to wow, and it's going to be a certain character count, and I can hit OK. Or if I wanted to change this completely and I wanted more copy in this words, I would come up here and I would actually delete and hit OK. And that's going to delete that larger font. And then I have more room here to add any message that I want. And I can, whoops, put find out. And then if I hit OK, well, of course it ended up the way I wanted it, but technically if I added any more copy here, it could cut the lines in. Let me see if I just add what homes. Always happens when I'm trying to set an example here. So you'll see that this is a little crowded up here. So I might want to change where the line breaks a little bit. And this is something you might want to write down. It's something you need to remember if you want to change or manipulate where the spacing is. So if I wanted to change the line break, I would insert here, caret, BR, caret. And what that's going to do is create a line break. Or if I wanted to break it up somewhere else, because that doesn't really make sense to break that line up there, I can say find out, caret BR, caret what homes buyers. And we should add an in. And then I'm going to hit OK. And so now you can see where you can manipulate where the line breaks are so that it'll be more even. It makes more sense when you're reading through it. And it's just caret BR caret or less than BR greater than sign if you don't know what caret is. Any questions about that? I just want to make sure you guys know how to create a line break. So you'll see it up here. I just want to show it. So it is caret BR caret. And that is anything in our marketing section. That is what you're going to use to create a line break. So if you want to notate that somewhere or write it down, I would do that just because it's easy to forget. But it is caret BR caret, less than BR greater than, however you want to remember it. You're very welcome, Jennifer. I know it's a great little trick. And I know that probably for any of you that have gone in here and tried to do that and you're wondering like, oh my gosh, this is uneven because I'm a little OCD with that type of stuff. This is going to be a lifesaver for you guys. So you're going to want to hit OK. And now that you have everything that you want, your pictures, you have the copy that you've wanted selected, you can go in and change any of your information. If I wanted to change my headshot, I can do that. I'm going to leave it the same. If I wanted to add any more information here, I could. Like it doesn't have my cell number, so let's go in and add that. And then I'm going to hit OK. I can either hit save and close if I just want to save this in my actual postcards, or if I want to save and continue. So now this takes us to who are we sending these postcards to? So you have a couple of different options here that I'm going to review with you. One thing to notate, always for any postcard order, you have to have a minimum of 100 to create an order. That is always going to be the minimum, 100 postcards. And then there's a couple of options that you have to choose to who you're going to send them to. So up here in your CRM and some of our other webinars, we have talked about your contact types. So when you have created these contact type groups, this is where we've said it makes it so much easier for marketing purposes, because instead of going in there and selecting each person one by one, you've already grouped them into these contact type groups. So I can go in here and I can select dog lovers, or if I'm sending a postcard to people that I know maybe don't have, or have subpar credit and they're trying to get into their first house, I can send a postcard that is pertaining to them and just click on them and then add them over here. If I wanted to add all of my contact types, I would just select this button and it's going to add all of my contact types. Now, if I wanted to select anyone who is in my CRM that does not have a contact type attached to them, Ron is asking a question. Can you point out that there may be some members here whose company has not yet set up print ordering options? Ron, just to make sure I understand what you're asking, that would mean essentially what I think you're saying is that you are a newer company to Back At You office? Because technically, if you have this in here, if you are able to create postcards, oh, we are in Canada. I see what you're saying. Yes. Okay. So if you put your information in here, I can selectively get any information that you want pertaining to Canada, and I can email it to you after the webinar. If you want to just ask me specifically what you want to know, and then I will email you after the webinar. No problem. Okay. So once you're in here, you can include contacts with no contact type. So any of your contacts that are in your CRM that you have not attached to a contact type group, you can include them here as well. Now, when I add anyone over here, you'll see over here at the right-hand bottom corner, selected quantity. So that means anybody in these groups that I have moved over or chosen to send. And the reason for this, and I'll just explain this, is because we're in a demo account. You want to make sure that this quantity hits 100, because if you don't hit that minimum, then you're not going to be able to send them through the contact types. And the reason why it's not pulling that many is because I have emails attached to these people, but not physical addresses. So you need to make sure, in order to do these, and anyone that you're adding to this contact type or this list has an actual physical address listed in your CRM. Otherwise, obviously, they're not going to get a postcard because it has to be mailed to them. So that's one thing you do want to pay attention to. Let me move those back over. You also can upload your own contact file here. So if you usually go through your title company, where they always will give you like a CSV list of property addresses in certain specific areas, then you can just upload your contact file here. It's going to pull up the little upload, and you would just upload the CSV file here. Try and make sure that you do have it in a CSV file format. For any of those who don't know what a CSV file is, it's just a stripped down version of an Excel spreadsheet. And those of you who have gone through our CRM webinar, you'll know that it's essentially just stripped down data. Each type of data has its own column, and it's a way for all of the platforms to be able to categorize and organize the information when it's uploaded. So use a CSV file here. Most of the time, you can always get those from your title company. You just want to make sure that you hit that minimum requirement of 100 here, or it's not going to pull through completely on the other end. Now, you can always just have them sent to your office. So if you do that, you are just going to create the postcard as we did. It's going to come with the address blank. You would have to use mailing labels or however you want to do it. Obviously, I wouldn't suggest that you're going to handwrite every single address. They will be shipped directly to your office, and then you can mail them out yourself. But if you can do this, I would suggest, I mean, unless you have a specific reason that you would want them shipped to your office blank, I would, you know, work smarter, not harder, and just have them sent directly to the people that you're sending them to. We also have a section here that is targeted. So this is what happens. So I'm just going to put in an amount here, let's say 200. So if I put in an address, and this does not have to be in your area, it could be anywhere, just specifically saying, I can put any address in here. It's going to populate, and it's going to send 200, because I have the quantity 200 in that radius of that particular property. So the one thing that I will say is, any of you that are similar, Julie is asking, what is the cost for postage and what kind of postage use? So this is the cost included for each piece and the postage. Well, except for to the office, because you would have to add your own postage here. But what happens is, when we print them out and send them out, we use bulk mailing, so it is a little bit cheaper, and that's why it's just slightly more expensive, but we are mailing them out for you. Does that hopefully answer your question? The only one that doesn't include postage is the ones that come directly to your office, because you're mailing them out yourself. Okay, good. So over here in the targeted area, if any of you are similar with EDDM, which is every door direct mail, it is similar in the sense where EDDM is basically you're choosing the postal route, but this is different from that in the sense that you can go past the amount of what's on the postal route in the radius of this particular. So if I wanted to do 500 houses and I'm in an urban area where there would be 500 houses in that area around this property, I can do that, where you might not get 500 houses on a postal route. Also, that you do want to take into consideration, if you're in a rural area and you put in an address and there might not be 100 houses around there, you do want to take that into consideration as well, because you need the minimum of 100. So once I've made that choice up here, and let's say I want to send 100 to my office as well. Now, every order that you have, whether they're getting sent to your office, whether they're getting mailed directly out from the printer, you will be seeded a copy to your office address. Now, if you want to seed an actual postcard to your home or to a different address that you know is in the area, then you would have to include that up here if you're sending to certain contacts. If it's in the radius of this address, it's going to automatically go anyway. So if I come down here, you also have a notes section. So this is basically just a note to our printer and our approver. And what happens is this, if you have a new listing or if you have an open house and you are creating these probably as a precursor to this happening, and you don't want them to go out just yet, you want them to go out on a specific date, you can put a note in here and say, please hold until April 25th. Or whatever other notes you have to the printer, anything that you have specifically to go into the notes section regarding the actual postcards, you can put them in here and they will read it. And then you're going to hit save and continue. And now it's going to take you to the next screen, which will give you a breakdown of your order. So now once I have this screen up here, it's going to give me my order summary. It's going to tell me how many to my office. I didn't order, or I ordered 100 to my office at 50 cents. So that's $50. none to the contacts at 65 cents, and then targeted, the quantity was 200 at 65, so that's 130. And then it's going to give me my grand total here. Any notes that I put in are going to show up right here. And then I'm going to select going to payment. Now, one thing that, another thing, as I'll go through this whole thing, there's lots of things I want to notate, but things for you guys to keep in mind. So you can pay later here at the bottom, because once you come to this page, it's really just going to ask for your billing details. And it'll mention here that your credit card statement will say back at you. If you have been with us for a long time, it might have said, it used to say realistic, but for moving forward, it will appear as back at you charge on your credit card bill. You put in your information. I can either choose to pay later or submit payment. So let's say, because I just want to make sure that everything on there is how I want it, and I want to go in and edit before I submit for approval, I'm going to select pay later. And then it's going to show up right here under pending. So just so that you guys know, once you submit a postcard and you have paid for it, only then does the approval process start. And what that means is essentially they are going to check the printers. They're going to make sure everything's correct on their end. If there's anything that gets rejected or there's a question, it's going to come back to you. If everything's fine, it's still going to come back to you just a little bit quicker. And you're going to give it a final approval before it goes to printing. So from the time that you have given the final approval, it's probably about 48 hours for the printer to get it printed out and to the post office. All in all, it can take probably 5 to 10 days, depending on where you are living, what type of area, and how quick the postage goes out. So you will also have emails and notifications telling you what's going on with your order. So you'll see the status here says pending, payment says pending. So until this says paid, my approval does not even begin. So you have to make sure that you make the payment on the postcard order before that approval process starts. They're going to notify you. If they send anything back and you make changes, they'll go back and forth with you until you have that final approval. Once the final approval is on your end, then that's when the 48 hours begin for them to start the printing process and to get to the post office. Any questions about that, guys? So just to kind of review up here, in order to get to your postcards, you're going to come to your main dashboard right here and then select marketing. And then you're going to come up to the top and select my orders. And then once you're in here, you're going to see all of your postcard orders. You can come in here and you can select actions. It's going to give you a status right here and tell you what's going on. Up here, it's also going to tell you how many postcard orders you've completed, how many are pending, how many have been rejected. That is if they had to send it back to you for an edit. And then here is where you would create a new order right here. And then you have your actions button here for each order. You can edit, delete, or look at the history. Pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Any questions about the postcards before we move on? Okay, great. So now we're going to go back to our marketing tab and we're going to come down here to print and email marketing. So if you select My Save Content, for whether it's under print or email marketing, it's going to take you to the same place. And if you do not have any projects that you've created, it's going to have your green button to create a marketing project. You also have your personal here and you have company projects. So if your company has actually created marketing collateral for you, you would come up here and select company and you can pull it here. Here is where you're going to pull all of your personal projects that you have created. If you haven't created any, you'll have the green button. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to create new content, and I'm going to come up here and select the plus add content. So once I do that, it's going to pull up all of the templates that are available to me. And these are for your email and print marketing flyers. So up here, and I know that someone mentioned earlier about being able to choose between emailable and printable. This is what they were talking about. So once you are in your flyer templates, this is where you can choose between emailable and printable. Most all of them are going to be emailable. It just depends on the layout. Some of them might not be printable, again, because of the layout. And then if you have a template title that you are particularly searching for, you can type it in here, or one that you've created so you don't have to go through all of them. You can also field it through the content type. If you have Back at You templates, which are the default templates, if your company has created templates, you can search those as well. And then you also have all of the categories here. So if you scroll down through here, you have e-blasts, you have events, you have flyers, you have holidays, you have letters, newsletters, property flyers. So all of these are pieces of contents that are templates that are already ready for you to create. So right now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of different templates. And Bruce is asking, are the postcard style email also? No, you can't. I mean, you could snip it, but it's not meant to send out. And you can probably choose the same content here where it's emailable. So I would just choose, like if we were looking at home value or agent promotion, if you click on that, it's going to have the same content, just in a different layout so that you can email it. Does that answer your question? So pretty much we'll copy the same the same content that is in those particular postcards, but it's going to put it in an email or printable version for you. Great. Okay, so let's go back to all. So I'm going to go over a couple of different templates just so that you can really see the variety of what you can create here. So there we go. So I'm going to select blank content. So this is really where you can kind of spread your wings. You can decide to do whatever you want. It is a blank canvas for you. Any of these blank contents. This one is completely blank. You can add whatever you want. This has a template with an image. You'll see here this has images and columns and so on. Those would probably be good for maybe a newsletter type. But we are going to choose the blank content for right now, and I'm going to select. So now this pulls up, and because I know that I'm going to create an email campaign with this particular piece of content, when I go up here and I name it, I'm going to say new leads and just put first touch letter. So I'm going to come up here and now I'm going to edit it. So you'll see here, it's pretty much like any Word doc. I can add hyperlinks. I can add images. I can format it however I want. So I'm going to say hello. And the one thing that is wonderful up here is you have this mail merge tool that works for you. So anyone that I'm sending this to, I can come up here and select contact first name. Any of these things can be inserted into your marketing piece. So if I hit first name and then I hit select, anywhere where I have the cursor at the time, it's going to select and put in that mail merge. So that means anyone that these get sent to, no matter who it is, in my CRM, it's going to say, hello, Sally, hello, Megan, hello, Thomas. Everyone's first name is going to get mail merged into that particular email. And then I can put whatever message I want. It was wonderful meeting you. Any real estate questions you may have. Please Feel free to contact me at any time. And then if you wanted to insert your phone number, you can. So I can go back up here and I could say from agent phone number and then hit select. And then it's going to put my phone number here. If I wanted to insert sincerely, whoops. I want to put in and insert my email signature on every single one. I can do that without actually coming in here. And then that means when you have your signature that you've inserted and you update it in your profile, you don't need to go in here to every single content piece that you've created and upload it or re-upload it, because it's going to automatically insert your latest email signature. So once I've created this letter that I want, or any piece of information, or anything that you want to create, if you wanted to come in here and just slap in an image of something that you have pertaining, that's not in our templates, you can do that as well. It's really up to you guys how you want to utilize it, and you can think out of the box as much as you want. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hit OK. So now it's saved this in my content. I can actually save and share it right now if I wanted to. I could save and email it to somebody if I wanted to, and it's going to pull up any of that information. And you'll see it automatically pulled in my email signature. I can send it directly to someone in my CRM. If I wanted to send it to a group, I can. I'm actually going to close out of this because I do not want to send it. And now it's saved in my content here. So that is how you would create a blank piece of content. Now, if you come up here and we open this again, I can add another piece of content. So now we're going to try and go through some of the templates that we already have. Oh, yes, of course, Cecilia. And then if I go up here to category, I can choose from so many different types. If I want to do a holiday, if it's Cinco de Mayo, I can choose Cinco de Mayo. I can choose from any of these pieces. You can do a holiday campaign. I can also do, spring forward. We just had spring forward. If you have a happy birthday, birthdays are always great to include with your CRM, because then you can attach anyone who has a birthday that you've attached to a particular campaign, which we'll get into next. Then you can add a happy birthday. And that is a great way to always keep in touch with your clients. Who doesn't not want a happy birthday? And then you also have letters. So there's a post-closing letter that it's already scripted for you that you can go in and just edit. You can preview. So these are things that you can add to your campaigns. You also have all of your actual property flyers here. So you have a general property flyer just listed. You can choose from all of these right here. So let's just select one and go through, and it's going to be similar just how we set it up for our postcard. Anything here with the dotted lines is editable, but I obviously want to keep the headline just listed. If I want to pull up any property in here that's going to pull up any of the stats, I'm going to select the property button right here. It's going to give me all of my options for properties that are in my platform. Let's find a residential that has an image. And now it's going to pull up the images, the stats, everything from MLS. It's going to pull directly into this flyer. And then once it pulls all of that information, then you can go in and edit the images. You can edit the copy. you can do anything you want with these. So you'll see here, it's going to pull up the property description. It pulled all the stats. One thing I just do want to make sure you guys are aware of, there is a particular character count for the description. So some of you I know like to have lengthy property descriptions. If you do, which I think is great, by the way, but you do want to make sure that when you are going in here and just selecting to upload the property, you want to go in and double check that it hasn't cut off part of your property description, and you might have to edit it down a little bit so that it doesn't look like it's been cut off. That's one thing that you do want to pay attention to for those of you that do write lengthier property descriptions. It is really important to check this because you don't want to have a flyer or an email where they're reading the description and it's automatically cut off because you maxed out the character count. So just double check that. You can go in here and you can edit it however you want, and then you would just hit OK. And then up here, the same thing that I did with the postcards, I can go in here and select the images. You go up to property. And one thing I always like to tell the agents, however your system is in your office for uploading your properties or your listings into MLS, if you really, like if you're going through a transaction coordinator or if you're doing it yourself, the way that you select the order of the images and really think out your property description, make sure there's no grammatical errors or anything like that, most of your marketing is going to be done for you. Because if you're putting all the money shots, usually you're going to have your elevation shot first. That's typical. And then if you select the, good kitchen shot, the backyard shot, those good money shots for the first or the next like 5 or 6 images, most of your marketing, it's going to be plug and play. Unless there is if you have a particular way that the image is cutting and you want to select a better one where you can go down here. Let's do a kitchen image. And then I'm going to hit save. But the reality is, if you really use those shots as the first ones that you are submitting up and uploading into the MLS, for the most part, your marketing will pretty much be done for you. It might just be a matter of tweaking the image a little bit, or maybe switching out one that you think will fit better in the size image box. But other than that, it's pretty much done for you. Like I said, you can edit anything with the dotted line. So if I wanted to edit my headshot, I could. If I want to go here and edit my information, I must not have this in my profile. That's probably why it's not coming up. And I can hit OK. And then once I'm happy with this, I can decide, I can actually save and get an HTML code if I want to embed it. If you're really advanced and savvy, I can save and print it if I just want to print some out for an open house or if I'm going somewhere. Also, you can save an email directly from here, or I can actually save and share to social media if I wanted to do that as well. Or I can just hit save and then it's going to save in all of my projects. So let's hit save. And then I can close here. Any questions about that? It's pretty easy, guys. It's pretty much plug and play. And I really want to get to my favorite part of the marketing, which is the campaigns, because this is really where this is going to work for you, is when we get to the campaigns. So if you're back in the homepage, just so we can kind of go back to where we started, you come in, you log in, you're on your homepage, you come down to your marketing. We already covered the postcards in the My Order section. We just covered the print marketing and the email marketing under Save Content. Now we're going to come down here where it says My Campaigns. So I'm going to select My Campaigns. And essentially what we're doing here is we are going to be creating email drip campaigns. Or any of you that don't know what drip campaigns are, they're just a series of automated emails and you set up the series with different content and it automatically emails. So you pretty much set it and forget it. It's one of the most genius marketing tools that you will have. And really the name of the game is keeping yourself top of mind with all of your contacts. So I can really say from a marketing standpoint, if you guys are not using your drip campaigns and your email marketing campaigns, you're doing a disservice to yourself, because there's so many ways that you can really angle this and so many different clients and contacts that you can send this to. And if nothing else, set up a holiday campaign, because that way you're touching them at every holiday and you're still keeping your name top of mind. I mean, you could be the most perfect agent and it could have been the smoothest transaction, and in 3 years, they've forgotten your name if you're not keeping in constant contact with them, if they're not on your social media, etc. So this is why this is my favorite part. You have the company and my campaigns that are going to show up together here. If you guys do not have any campaigns set up, you'll have a green button as you would with any section that says create campaign. You have company campaigns here, which we'll go over first. So any company campaigns that your company or your brokerage, your office has set up for you, some may have and some may not. If they have, the beauty of this is all you need to do is add your recipients. So if you come into these company campaigns, you would just choose the one that you want. And I'm going to select holiday campaign. Actually, let me go back because I want one that has more than one. So let's do 4th of July. So you'll see here, there's 2 touches, and we'll ignore that it says 4th of July and it has Merry Christmas. But you'll see here, there's 2 emails set up. So in theory, if your company has set this up, they have set up the content. Now, typically for most of the content, you're not going to be able to edit it. If they've maybe created a newsletter or something like that, there are sections that you can go in and edit. It just depends on the type of content that they've created. For the most part, you won't be able to edit it. The point of this is just so that you can go in and add the recipients. So it's really the easiest way to set up a campaign. All you need to do is go up here and select plus recipients. And then you're going to choose from your contacts in your CRM. I can choose through any of my contacts in my CRM. I can choose from my contact type groups, again, where these come in handy. I can choose to send to particular agents in my company, or I can even choose to send to an office. If I have multiple offices, I can send to a whole office, all of my offices, etc. And then I would hit finish. It's going to tell me I need to make a selection. So let me go back up here. And then I'm going to hit OK. So now I've added a recipient to this particular campaign. That's all I really needed to do. Julie is asking, when will holiday email campaign templates be updated? They have been the same for years in IQ Office, and we have cycled through all of them. We are desperate for current material. That is a great question, Julie, and I would assume that we would be working on that. I know that we have a lot going on with our development team with our merger of the 2 companies, so they have been a little swamped. But if you do call in or you do a chat and you submit like a ticket or support, if you write into support, the more of you that do that, the more requests that they get, the more attention will be paid to that. And I really suggest, I agree with you, it should be updated on a regular basis. I just know that right now in the immediate interim that they are backlogged with all of the components of connecting for merging the 2 platforms. So if you go into support, I would definitely email them. I can also put in a ticket for that as well to our development team. and try to get that pushed through because I know that that's important. I hope that answers your question. Maybe not exactly what you wanted as the answer, but I hope it answers your question. Okay, so as we go through here, you would just add the recipients. For the most part, when a company is adding content, it's going to be pretty generic. So that leads me to tell you the beauty of this is you can create all of your own content. So if you go to My Campaigns here, if I want to create a new campaign, I will definitely, Julie, I will submit a ticket on my end because I really do think that that's important. I come from marketing, so I do think that fresh content is important. I will do that. If you can leave your email address here, I can CC you on that as well. So moving on to the campaigns, to add your own campaign, I would just hit plus campaign here. As I mentioned before, if you can add it as well there, if you have a green button. If you've already created campaigns, you're going to see them as an overview here, but we are going to create a new campaign. So the sky's the limit on the campaigns that you can create. You're very welcome, Julie. So you can create any campaign. You can do a holiday campaign. And I really suggest for anyone, that is the starting point, create a holiday campaign. The beauty of these email campaigns is that you can create different types of campaigns. Typically, a lot of times when you have a platform where you can create these automatic drip campaigns, there's usually time-based and date-based. So you, for the most part, can't really mix them up, but you can on this particular platform, which is lovely. And I'll explain what that means as we go through here. So you always want to give your campaign name. So since I already knew that I was creating a campaign when I created that content, I was going to call it New Leads. So we'll call this New Leads. And then I am going to select that letter. So let's look for that letter that I created. Oops. Close. I don't know why that's pulling up like that. There we go. Why is it not pulling up? Bad example, guys. So if I pull this letter up, let's find it. There we go. I can select the letter that I pulled up. It's going to have the information. You'll see it here. And then I'm going to select, now, depending on what type of campaign that I am creating, if this is a leads campaign, most of the time what you're going to want to do is base it on a time or an interval versus an actual date. Because when you create this series of emails, you want to make sure that each person that you add to this campaign, no matter what time of the year or day or month that you add them, that they're going to receive every single email or drip. So I'm going to select interval instead of an actual date. And that means when I come over here, I'm going to say, after I add this person to this campaign, I want them to receive this the second day after they've been added to the campaign, or I can say the first day. However many days after you've added them to the campaign, that's what interval means. So that is what it means to say that it's time-based versus date-based. And you can actually add things that are date-based as well. So that's how I love these particular campaigns, because a lot of times if it's just time-based, it has to be all time-based. This you can mix and match. So it really gives you more of a comprehensive campaign. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to choose the one that I want. I can send after any time. So let's say I want to send anytime after 9 a.m. I want to make sure that the status is active. And then I scroll down to the bottom. I'm going to select next. And then I'm not going to add any recipients now. If I wanted to, I could go in and choose the contact type group. If I know that I have a new leads contact group, I can send that now, but I'm not going to because I'm not yet done creating this campaign. I want to add more events or emails to this campaign. So I'm going to hit finish and then done. So now I can scroll down here and I can find that new leads event campaign that I just created. And it's going to open up. And now if I want to go up here and create a new event, I can, which means it's another email. And if I want to add a birthday card, so this is a perfect opportunity where I can add something that is date based. So I'm going to come over here to my categories and I'm going to select birthday, happy birthday, and select birthday. And then I'm going to tie this to a holiday birthday. So anyone in my particular campaign that I've added as a contact, if they have their birthday tied to their profile, they're going to receive this birthday. And this is tied to an actual date versus just how many days after. So that's something that you can add to all of your campaigns if you know that you're sending them to different people. Obviously, you just want to be cognizant if you're sending multiple campaigns to the same person. If you do repeat this, they will probably get 2 birthday emails. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. Send after any time. We're going to say after 10 a.m. Status is active. So one thing I just want to notate is that if you hit inactive, that means you're deactivating this particular drip or event from the series. So moving forward, anyone that you add to that, they're not going to receive it. But we want to actually keep that active. Scroll down to the bottom and then finish. And since we're short on time and I want to be respectful of everyone's time, I know we have a lot going on. I just want to show you one other particular type of campaign that is extremely important. I think that post-close is probably one of your most important ways of keeping in contact and keeping referrals going. So up here, let me close out of here. I'm going to close out of this particular campaign and I want to create a new campaign. And for this one, I'm just going to do a post-close or post-transaction. And that's where this becomes really important for you guys to have your transaction dates. So actually, before I even create this, let me go back here. So when you have anyone in your customer relations tab, just to give you a little brief reminder, and I'm going to click on anyone just so you guys can see here. When you have any lead or contact and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see this section right here that says transactions. This is so important to fill out for anyone that you have as a past client. So when you fill out this transaction date and they have a transaction date tied, you can do so much with your campaigns and moving forward. So you just make sure that you fill in this date, and then that date is going to get tied into all of these marketing campaigns. So you have a last transaction date address. If you have the address to wherever the transaction is for, the home that you sold or that they bought, you would put that here. And then you would just hit save. And then close. So let's go back to marketing, to campaigns. And now I'm going to create a post-close or post-transaction campaign. Select plus campaign. And now when this opens, I am going to create a content here that is going to actually I'm going to put, whoops. If I could just spell today, that would be nice. Okay. And then I'm going to select here. You can send a thank you. So you could start off with a thank you, probably a week or, 10 days or something afterwards. You can send a thank you card. You would just choose whatever template you want. Let me scroll all the way down so I can select. And then you can put in whatever verbiage you want. Somehow that's not working. Oh, that's why. There we go. Then I'm going to hit next. So I would go in and fill out whatever message I want. And up here, instead of using a date, I'm going to use a transaction date. So I can send after, and these are all of your options, 1 day, 2 day, 3 days. I'm going to give them time for the dust to settle, and I'm going to do it 10 days after the transaction date. Send after any time. And then this will become my first touch. I can put thank you for your business. Let's delete greeting here. Congratulations on your new house. And then hit OK. Then if I wanted to add a third or like a second drip or event, then I would select maybe a letter that I created in my blank content that says, thank you for your business. If you need any references for handymen or any resources, I'm here to help you. That's when you could put a link for your testimonial, etc. That's always a good touch base time is usually a month, and just kind of touch in. Whoops, I selected the wrong one here. And then you also have your, let me find it. There we go. And then you also have your, let me actually just go back here because I know we're running out of time, so I'm not creating them all from scratch. If I go to, here we go. This one has 3. So in here you'll see, and I'll open them for you. So you have like a check-in, and then you have a happy anniversary and a thank you. So that's what I was saying, is this could be your checking in at 1 month, where you're basically just letting them know you're here for them. You can add anything. If you have a Yelp or, any kind of survey or testimonial, you can add that link there. You can send a happy home anniversary, and you can send these up to 5 years after that transaction date. So this is a really great way to keep in contact with all of your clients. I can't stress this enough. It's a set it and forget it. As soon as you close a transaction, you just add them to the campaign. You can add them to any campaign through their customer relations on their profile, or you can go in here and add them as a recipient. There's so many ways to add them to a campaign. There shouldn't be any issue or questions on how to do it. As far as it's very easy once you get into the hang of things. But those are the different ways. It's really up to you guys. The sky's the limit on creating your marketing campaigns. And I know we're kind of running over, but I just wanted to show you the post-close campaign with the transaction date. So are there any questions? I know we covered a lot today. The marketing is usually the fun part, but really utilize those campaigns, because once you start creating those pieces, you can always insert them and the marketing really works for you. Any questions, guys? While we wrap up, oh, there is a question in the questions box. Sorry, Melanie, I didn't see it. Is the interval always based on days? Yes. So when you are selecting interval, what it does is it always bases days. So if I was to go in and do a whole campaign based on an interval, which is great for when you're just wanting to make sure everyone that you add gets every single touch or event, then you would just say that the first one would be maybe 2 days, or the first day after you add them. Then the second one would be maybe the 10th day. You want to definitely spread them out because you don't want to over bombard your clients, because obviously you don't want them to unsubscribe. That's the key, is to keeping them engaged. So don't bombard them when you're sending these out. Make sure you spread them out. I wouldn't be sending more than one a week, because otherwise it's just too much, and they're either not going to read it or they're going to unsubscribe. I hope that answers your question, Melanie. I see there's another question. Can you change the color of the text in the thank you template? You cannot change the color of the text. We do have those, the several templates. Like I said, I will send in a ticket to our development team for more content, excuse me. But as of now, you can't change the color of the template. Anything that's in the dotted lines is what you can edit. You're welcome. Any other questions before we wrap up? And every Monday, I know that a lot of people have a little more time on their hands, or maybe not, but now is a great time to really kind of get to know this platform. So every Monday we'll be doing a different webinar, and next Monday we'll be doing our websites webinar. So please join us next Monday if you want to brush up on your website. You're very welcome, Lynn. But every Monday we do this, and we just rotate through our webinars. So it's always a great place to come to if you guys ever need a refresher. If you guys ever have questions, please feel free to join our Facebook group. You can always ask questions on there. You do have the support as well with any more technical questions. But definitely just dig in. The more you kind of start creating these things, the easier it will be. And I promise you, I just can't stress enough that the campaigns are going to be your best friend. So thank you guys for joining. If there's no more questions, then we'll wrap up since we're already running over time. And you guys have a wonderful week. Yes, I can send Melanie, if you can just type in your email address, I will send you a link directly to the Facebook. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for joining, and let us know if you guys have any questions. We're always here to help. Thank you.